So you picked Killer in Forsaken, but survivors keep juking you, wasting your stamina, and escaping right at the end. Don't worry. After this video, that won't happen again. I'm going to show you exactly how to pick the right targets, master every killer's abilities, and use pro-level tricks that make survivors panic the second they see you. Stick with me till the end, because these tips can turn you into the deadliest killer in the lobby. Number 1. Core survival priority. In Forsaken, stamina is the heartbeat of every fight, and the rule is simple. Never let it hit 0. Treat it like a budget you manage all match spend in quick bursts, then refill before you're broke. The cleanest way to do that is burst chasing. Tap sprint to close space, then drop to a steady walk while the survivor panics and drains their bar. Don't copy their panic. Let them zigzag and oversteer while you take clean racing lines. Cut corners tight, hug walls, and pre-aim doorways and stair turns so you travel less distance and save energy. Use shift lock to curve your path smoothly without oversprinting. Anytime you tag a survivor, slip into walk for a couple seconds to bank stamina during their flinch. Those mini top-ups win long chases. Read animations too. When a survivor whiffs a swing, pops a gadget, or finishes a vault, that's your free window to walk recover and still hold pressure. Think about angles more than pure speed. Shoulder check your camera so you predict where they'll dodge, then take the shorter line. If they run into open ground, feint to commit, ease off the gas, and watch them waste stamina trying to outrun a chase you aren't even sprinting for. Then you burst again and catch up for real. Rotate targets smartly. If someone has fresh stamina and escape tools, tag them once to force a heal or gadget use, then peel to a softer target while your own bar refills. Use ability animations as recovery time fire, place or cast, and let your stamina climb during the windup. Above all, stay calm. Pros don't hold sprint, they pulse it. They don't chase the avatar's head, they track hips and pacing. Keep your bar healthy, make survivors spend theirs, and every fight tilts your way before a single power even comes into play. Number 2, survivor targets. When you jump into Forsaken as a killer, it's tempting to just chase the first survivor you see. They run past you, you get that rush, and boom, you're sprinting after them. But here's the thing. Not every survivor is worth the same amount of your energy. If you really want to play like a pro, you've got to learn who to prioritize and who to leave for later. Survivors are split into 3 main classes: survivalists, sentinels, and supports. Survivalists like Noob and 007 are usually the ones new players go for because they're flashy and easy to spot. But chasing them early is often a mistake. These guys are tricky, slippery, and designed to waste your time. They'll burn your stamina, run you around the map, and distract you while the rest of the team keeps working on generators. That's why, as a killer, you should leave survivalists for last. Now let's talk about the real threats, the supports. These survivors are basically the glue that holds the team together. Elliot, Builderman, Dusakar, and Taff are your biggest headaches, and Elliot is enemy number 1. He's got abilities that can keep the entire group alive longer, and if you let him stay in the match, every chase will drag on forever. Taking Elliot out first completely weakens the survivors. Next, focus on Builderman and Dusakar. Builderman's sentries and dispensers slow you down and give survivors breathing room, while Dusakar's shield can ruin what would have been an easy kill. If you see those gadgets, don't ignore them, destroy them right away. Think of supports as the backbone of the team. If you break that backbone, the rest of the survivors crumble fast. And trust me, once you start playing with this strategy, your matches will feel so much easier. It might feel weird to ignore a panicking noob running in circles, but if you go straight for the supports, your win rate will climb, and you'll start dominating lobbies like a real Forsaken pro. Number 3, Jason. Jason is the very first killer you get in Forsaken, and honestly, he's the best place to start if you really want to understand how killers work in this game. He doesn't have crazy ranged attacks, he doesn't have traps, and he doesn't rely on gimmicks. Jason is pure chase. He's all about raw speed, stamina control, and staying on your target until they make a mistake. That's why he's the perfect foundation. If you can play Jason well, every other killer will feel way easier. The first thing you need to know is that Jason is one of the fastest killers in the game, tied with Cool Kid when sprinting. This makes him terrifying in open chases, but it also means you have to be smart with how you manage stamina. His ability, Raging Pace, is your lifeline. When you activate it, Jason regains stamina while still keeping momentum. But here's the trick. Don't spam it the second your bar dips. Wait until your stamina is close to running out, then pop it to refill. Keep in mind that it stops at 70, so you'll want to swing just as you're capping out so you can lunge forward and keep up the pressure. Next up is Behead. This move is Jason's bread and butter when it comes to finishing fights. It lunges you at a survivor and hits them with the helpless debuff, locking their abilities for a full 14 seconds. Survivors hate this, especially supports like Elliot or Noob. Elliot can't use Rush Hour to speed away, and Noob can't chug his cola or pop Slate Skin to stall you. That means you can secure kills much faster. Just remember that Behead also slows you for 2 seconds, so instead of sprinting right after, walk to recover stamina while the survivor is panicking. A smart move is to use Behead when multiple survivors are on a generator to disable their abilities all at once, and suddenly they're free food. Then we've got Gashing Wound, another tool that makes Jason deadly in chases. It's amazing against survivors stuck in animations. If a sentinel misses a sword swing, a block, or a shot, you punish instantly with Gashing Wound for huge damage. You can even pull off parries by reacting with Raging Pace to avoid stuns, and immediately counter with a gash. That single play can turn a fight completely in your favor. The secret to Jason is rhythm. Sprint, walk, recover, then burst again. Weave Raging Pace and Gashing Wound into your chase, and use Behead at the right moment to shut down survivors. He might look simple, but Jason teaches you the most important lesson in Forsaken. Control the chase, control the game. Once you master him, you'll start to see why so many pros still pick Jason even at high levels. He's consistent, fast, and absolutely ruthless when played right. Number 4. Cool Kid. Cool Kid is where Forsaken really starts to feel wild. If Jason is the steady foundation for learning chases, Cool Kid is like strapping a turbo engine onto your gameplay. He's built for rushdowns, speed, and nonstop pressure. With the same sprint speed as Jason, he can chase just as effectively, but his kit makes him way more unpredictable. The main difference? Jason is about consistency, but Cool Kid thrives on momentum and surprise. If you like playing fast, flashy, and keeping survivors on edge every second, this is your killer. Let's start with Corrupt Nature, his ranged harassment move. A lot of new players waste it by throwing it out in wide open areas where survivors can just sidestep it. That's not how you want to use it. Instead, you need to be sneaky. Hide behind walls, wait for survivors to tunnel vision on a generator, and then drop it right on them. The slowdown makes them easy pickings, and since they're already distracted, they won't have time to react. Think of Corrupt Nature as a setup tool, not a random attack. It's there to start the chase on your terms. Now let's talk about the infamous Walk Speed Overdrive. This ability is the reason so many survivors groan when they see Cool Kid. But here's the catch. If you use it wrong, it's useless. Don't pop it in the open, because experienced players will just juke and laugh as you waste it. Instead, save it for tight spaces corridors, glass houses, the Pirate Bay, anywhere that limits their movement. When survivors don't have room to dodge, Walk Speed Overdrive is basically a guaranteed hit. Use it close range so they don't even get a chance to react. Then we have Pizza Delivery, which sounds silly but is actually one of his strongest tools. It spawns bots that put survivors under constant pressure, forcing them to stop what they're doing. The best part? You regain stamina while the animation runs, so it doubles as a recovery move. Drop it on generators to push survivors out, or place it in choke points to cut off escape routes. You can even use it to check if 007 is hiding as a clone. If the bots target them, you know it's the real one. Cool Kid punishes sloppy movement like no other killer. If survivors miss a swing, a shot, or just run in straight lines, you're right on them. The key is to play aggressively, but never waste your kit. Be patient, wait for them to make a mistake, then pounce with your speed and combos. When you master Cool Kid, every chase turns into pure chaos for the survivors, and you'll feel like the fastest, scariest thing on the map. Number 5. John Doe. John Doe is the definition of a mind game killer in Forsaken. Unlike Jason or Cool Kid, who rely on raw speed and aggression, John's strength is all about setting traps, corrupting areas, and controlling where survivors can and can't go. When you play him, think less about sprinting at people, and more about shaping the map like a maze where every step drains their resources. Survivors know he's slower, but that doesn't matter if you force them into bad positions where they've got no escape. Let's start with his passive, Natural Malevolence. Whenever survivors walk through your corruption, they take chip damage, but more importantly, they burn stamina much faster. This is huge because stamina is the real win condition in Forsaken. You want to move in ways that spread corruption in high-traffic spots, doorways, staircases, generator areas. The longer survivors move through it, the quicker they tire out, and suddenly you're closing distance without even sprinting. Now about his basic attack, Slash. Most survivors know it can be juked, and they'll try to bait you into missing so they can counter or waste your stamina. Instead of panicking, flip it around. Walk calmly, let them waste stamina dodging, and then strike when they're gasping for energy. You win by being patient, not reckless. His first big ability, Corrupt Energy, is where the fun begins. It launches spikes from the ground to trap survivors, and it's absolutely brutal in tight areas like Horror Hotel, Brandon's Place, or the Carnival. But here's the pro trick. Flicking. Look away just as you cast, then snap back toward the survivor right before the spikes pop. It throws off their read, and even skilled players get caught. Practice this until it's second nature. You'll land hits they never see coming. Then there's Digital Footprint, your trap placement ability. This one is your best friend. Drop traps at generators, in narrow hallways, or right behind survivors mid-chase. Always keep at least one in reserve, because nothing feels better than shutting down a clutch escape with a perfectly placed trap. Finally, we've got 404 Error, which is spammable and great for scouting when you can't find anyone. John Doe struggles in Last Man Standing since he's one of the slower killers, but if you're creative with your traps, you can still force survivors into corners where they run out of stamina. Think of John as a puppet master. He doesn't chase recklessly, he manipulates. Once you get comfortable with corruption zones, trap placements, and flicks, survivors will feel like the whole map is working against them, and that's when John Doe is at his scariest. Number 6, 1x1. Alright, let's talk about 1x1, one of the most legendary and feared killers in Forsaken. He might not be the fastest out there. In fact, he's actually the slowest killer in terms of sprint speed, but don't let that fool you. His whole design is built around heavy damage, ranged control, and putting survivors in constant danger, no matter where they are on the map. Playing 1x1 is less about raw speed and more about patience, prediction, and knowing how to lock survivors down without ever letting them breathe. The move you'll be using the most is Mass Infection. This is basically your bread and butter ability, and the way you use it can change the flow of an entire match. Don't just spam it at the start. Wait a few seconds for survivors to spread out and settle on generators. Once they're grouped or distracted, drop Mass Infection on them and watch as they take massive damage. The hitbox on this thing is huge, which means you can use the environment to your advantage. Try aiming from staircases, small platforms, or any kind of elevation. It makes the infection spread in ways that are really hard to dodge. Survivors absolutely hate when you time it right, because they feel like they had no escape. Then you've got Entanglement, which pairs perfectly with Mass Infection. This move traps survivors in place, giving you the perfect setup for a guaranteed hit. The key here is making sure you've got stamina before you use it. Land the trap, then rush in with a swing, or follow directly with Mass Infection. On PC players, it's brutal because they don't break out as quickly. Against mobile or console players, you'll need to be a little smarter, since they can sometimes shake it off faster, but catching them off guard still works wonders. Unstable Eye is your safety button when stamina is low. It gives you a quick refill plus a speed boost, letting you stay in the fight without losing momentum. And then there's Rejuvenate the Rotten, which summons zombies. Don't underestimate these guys. Late game, they're basically your teammates. Use them to block paths, surround survivors, or force them to waste stamina dodging. If you chase a survivor into your zombies, you've just created a wall they can't get past without draining themselves. Here's the big takeaway with 1x1. He's not about rushing. He's about choking survivors out. Spread infection, trap them when they're not ready, use your zombies to corner them, and slowly take control of the entire map. Survivors will feel like they're drowning in pressure, and that's when 1x1 is at his most terrifying. Play him with patience, and you'll dominate every late game. Number 7. Mind Games. Now that we've gone through the main killers, it's time to talk about the part of Forsaken that really separates average players from the true pros' mind games. See, being a killer isn't only about pressing abilities or sprinting as fast as possible. It's about psychology. Survivors panic. They overthink. And your job is to use that against them. The moment you learn to outsmart people instead of just outrun them, that's when you start winning matches consistently. One of the easiest tricks is the fake out. Survivors are trained to expect you to commit to a chase. They see you sprinting, they panic, and they start burning stamina trying to escape. That's when you stop, pull back, and let them run themselves into a dead zone. Dead zones are spots on the map with no safe escapes, no windows, no doors, no easy loops. Survivors often don't realize they're running right into one until it's too late. By pretending to chase and then calmly repositioning, you'll catch them in these traps and finish them with way less effort. Another big part of mind games is baiting abilities. Survivors have tools designed to slow you down: shields, teleports, blocks, potions, but most of them depend on timing. If you can make them use those abilities early, they're basically defenseless. For example, some survivors try to bait out your walk speed overdrive by making you waste it in a wide open area. Don't fall for it. Wait until they're stuck in a hallway, a corner, or a small room. Once they've boxed themselves in, then you use it. That's a guaranteed hit, because there's literally no space for them to dodge. Against trickier survivors like 007, your mind games matter even more. His whole gimmick is clones, and newer killers get wrecked because they can't tell the difference. The secret is to watch carefully. If 007 suddenly slows down, but still has tons of stamina left, chances are that's the fake. You can also use abilities like pizza delivery or digital footprint to test which one is real. The bots and traps don't lie, and once you know, don't hesitate. Commit hard to the real target and don't give him time to set up another trick. The bottom line is this: good killers don't just play on the map, they play in the survivor's head. Every hesitation, every fake sprint, every trap you place is part of the story you're writing in that match. Once you start making survivors second guess every move, you'll notice how much easier it becomes to control the game. Mind games turn Forsaken from just chasing people into full-on psychological warfare. And if you master this part, you're not just playing like a pro, you're making survivors afraid of you before you even land a hit. Number 8. Chaining abilities. If you've ever watched a top Forsaken killer play, you'll notice one big difference. They don't just press one button and hope for the best. They know how to chain abilities together, turning separate moves into combos that leave survivors with no way out. Think of it like connecting pieces of a puzzle. One ability sets up the next, and when you put them in the right order, you create pressure that feels impossible to escape. Survivors rely on tiny Windows cooldowns, stamina breaks, or ability timers. Your job as a killer is to close those windows before they can use them. Let's start with Jason. He's a simple killer, but even he becomes deadly with proper chaining. The classic move is activating Raging Pace when your stamina is low, then instantly following with Gashing Wound. The stamina recovery from Raging Pace keeps you in the chase, while Gashing Wound punishes survivors who think they can escape with an animation or ability. That combo alone makes Jason feel unstoppable because you're always right on top of your target, never giving them a second to breathe. Now take Cool Kid. His strongest chain is Corrupt Nature into Walk Speed Overdrive. You drop Corrupt Nature on survivors when they're locked into a generator or distracted, which slows them down, then immediately rush with Overdrive. Because they're slowed and boxed in, they can't dodge the burst, and you hit them hard before they even realize what's happening. If you time it perfectly, you can even weave in a basic punch right after Overdrive for extra damage, stacking pressure instantly. John Doe is all about setting traps, so his chaining looks different, but hits just as hard. A strong setup is Corrupt Energy to raise spikes and force survivors into panic, then planting a digital footprint right where they're most likely to run. This combo locks them in, and suddenly they're trapped in an area with no way out. It's less about speed, and more about making the survivor feel like the entire map is collapsing on them. And then there's 1x1, the king of ranged pressure. His go-to chain is Entanglement into Mass Infection. You trap them first, then follow instantly with a huge hit that chunks their health. If you manage to predict their movement, this combo is brutal, especially in the mid-game when survivors are grouped up around objectives. The secret to chaining is patience. Don't waste abilities just because they're off cooldown. Hold them until you can connect one into the next. The goal isn't to throw everything at once, it's to layer pressure so survivors have no safe moment. When you start mastering these combos, you'll notice how quickly matches swing in your favor. Survivors won't just be running from you, they'll be running out of options, and that's when you know you're playing like a true Forsaken pro. Number 9. Late Game Focus. The late game in Forsaken is where everything gets serious. This is the point where the tension ramps up, the music kicks in, and suddenly every decision matters 10 times more. When it gets down to the last man standing, killers either rise to the occasion or completely fall apart. Survivors like Ourodrive are built for this stage. His clones and teleport tricks make him super slippery, and if you just sprint around blindly, you'll waste your stamina and end up watching him escape. That's why your main weapon in late game isn't just your abilities, it's your brain. Prediction becomes everything. Think about it like chess. Survivors only have so many options, and your job is to cut off the paths they're most likely to take. If you see 07 vanish, don't panic. Instead, run towards the furthest possible spot he might teleport to, or drop an ability like pizza delivery to test which version is real. You can also keep your camera on him. If one clone moves weird, while the other keeps running smoothly, you found the fake. Once you know where the real one is, don't waste time. Just commit and go all in. If you're playing Jason, late game is where stamina management really pays off. Don't hold sprint the whole time. Pulse it in short bursts so you never hit 0. Use Raging Pace only when you're on the edge of exhaustion, then chain it into Gashing Wound to keep pressure nonstop. Jason is terrifying in Last Man Standing if you stay calm and calculated. With Cool Kid, your speed is your biggest weapon. Late game survivors love to bait your walk speed overdrive, so don't burn it in wide areas. Wait until they're forced into a hallway or a corner. Drop Corrupt Nature first to slow them, then slam Overdrive and follow with a punch. Survivors have no room to breathe when you time this right. For John Doe, late game is tougher. He's slower, and his traps don't work as well when there's only one survivor to manage. That's when you double down on stamina control. Walk more, force the survivor to run, and punish every mistake. If you catch them in a choke point, a quick Corrupt Energy into Digital Footprint can still secure the kill, but don't rely on traps alone. And with 1x1, the late game is where his zombies shine. Rejuvenate the Rotten becomes your best tool. Drop zombies to block paths, force the survivor into awkward spots, and then punish with Mass Infection. Even if they dodge you, they'll still get cornered by the zombies. The late game isn't about rushing for the kill, it's about patience, precision, and prediction. If you stay calm, make smart reads, and keep your stamina under control, survivors will eventually slip up. And when they do, you'll be ready to end the match like a true Forsaken pro. Number 10. Killer mindset. So here's the truth. Being a killer in Forsaken isn't just about knowing all the stats, the cooldowns, or memorizing every single ability. Yeah, that stuff helps, but the real difference between an average player and a pro is the mindset you bring into the game. Survivors are always trying to mess with you. They want to bait you, tilt you, make you waste your energy, and push you into panicking. If you fall for that, no matter how good your killer is, you'll throw matches. The killers who consistently win are the ones who stay calm, play smart, and turn every situation into their advantage. First thing, don't rush. When you're new, it's natural to sprint everywhere, swinging wildly the moment you see a survivor. But good killers understand that stamina is more important than raw speed. Walking at the right times, saving stamina, and picking moments to burst. That's how you keep pressure without burning yourself out. Survivors live for that moment you hit 0 stamina because that's their window to escape. Don't give it to them. Second, don't waste abilities. Survivors are always waiting for you to panic press. They'll bait you into throwing out walk speed overdrive in an open field, or dropping a trap where no one's going to step. A pro doesn't take the bait. Instead, you wait until the survivor is locked into an animation, cornered, or distracted. That's when your abilities become game-ending. Think about chaining moves together too, because one good combo can wipe a survivor before they even react. Third, learn survivor patterns. Every player has habits. Some always loop the same spot, others panic sprint the second you look at them, and some love to fake one direction, then go the other. The more you pay attention, the easier it is to predict. Against someone like 007, if you know how he moves, you'll spot the real one instantly. Against Elliot, you'll know exactly when he wants to pop rush hour. It's not about reacting faster, it's about knowing what's coming before it happens. And finally, practice every killer. Each one teaches you a different skill. Jason trains you in stamina management. Cool Kid teaches raw aggression and speed control. John Doe makes you think about traps and positioning. 1x1 teaches patience and ranged prediction. Rotate through all of them, and suddenly you've got every tool in the book. When that happens, no matter who you pick, you'll have the confidence to dominate. A killer's mindset is calm, calculated, and relentless. Survivors might run, panic, or stall, but when you're in control, every move they make just becomes another step toward their defeat. That's how you play killers like a pro in Forsaken.